Okay, here we are. Let's talk about it. Cover your face or else. Don't be so selfish. And of course, follow the science. What's going on here, right? This is what we've been hearing a lot, especially in the last few weeks, more than I've ever heard before. We're going to get into it and my take on it in just a moment. Hi, I'm Jonathan Landsman, your host for Natural Health 365 Live. We do this live broadcast every single day, Monday to Friday, at 12 noon Eastern Time. We do another new show like this each day, all focused on helping you to have a better, stronger, healthier immune system, which will obviously protect your health. Hey, by the way, if you're new to this broadcast, please type new in the comments section below so we can give you a nice, big, warm welcome. Really appreciate that. So type new in the comments section below. Okay, so the governor of Michigan, right? Let's start with her. Wearing a mask or else. That's pretty much what she's saying. It's mandatory. Masks, again, are mandatory in indoor, obviously, spaces, and also in crowded outdoor places. That's what this executive order is that she signed not too long ago. Businesses must require it. So all businesses that are open now, accepting people coming in from the public, coming inside their business, must require that everyone wears a mask. Or the business has to pay a $500 fine. That's the penalty if they don't obey. Now, a quote out of her executive order is, "Wearing a mask is an effective and low-cost way to protect ourselves and our family from a deadly disease," end quote. This is what she says to her public, to her constituents. And of course, many governors and mayors agree. They're operating pretty much the same way. Whether they've done an executive order or not, they're certainly encouraging it. The CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, World Health Organization, plus many other of those conventional health organizations, they all agree. They're all pretty much saying the same thing. And even a very famous, high-profile, pretty sure you know who I'm talking about, functional medicine doctor, actually was pretty much saying the same thing. Look, in a sense, except for one thing he cited with a study with two hairdressers. Besides that, he pretty much said, well, hey, everyone's doing it. The President of the United States, CDC, World Health Organization, everybody agrees we should. And even this functional medicine doctor says you should do it, wear a mask, and he's also, of course, in favor, to many people's surprise, for fast-tracking the vaccine for COVID. So wearing a mask everywhere is definitely becoming the norm. I would certainly say in the last 2-3 weeks, for sure. The feeling is very, very strong. There is no doubt. I don't question it for a second. But what about the science? Because that's a biggie. A lot of people have thrown that to me. Jonathan, I followed the science. The science tells us we should do this. Generally speaking, and I know there's exceptions, most people saying this are saying it because they heard somebody else say it, not because they looked at the science at all. They haven't looked into it. Well, I spent, I would say conservatively, 2 to 3 hours on this, just for this show, just looking at the science part that we're going to look into right now. Do mask, I'm going to say it again, do the mask prevent viral infections like SARS-CoV-2? That's what we're talking about here, right? COVID-19, what everyone's hearing about. In 2009, we're going to go over about 10 years really quick here, okay? Stay with me. And if you want to check this out, I'm going to give you the title of the study so you can punch it into Google, any search engine you want, whatever. And then I'm going to pick out a quote. And I'm going to let you decide. and you can check it out for yourself. 2009 study titled Use of Surgical Face Masks to Reduce the Incidence of the Common Cold Among Healthcare Workers in Japan, a randomized controlled trial. These are all RCTs, randomized controlled trials. Very good stuff, right, when it comes to science. The quote, face mask use in healthcare workers has not been demonstrated to provide benefit in terms of cold symptoms or getting colds, end quote. Now keep in mind, nothing's been done on SARS-CoV-2. Nothing that I've seen. If you have something, please post it in the comment section. I would love to see it. But every one of these that I'm going over are about viruses. Very small physical particles that are in the air and what they found about masks. Let's continue. 2010, another study called Face Masks to Prevent Transmission of Influenza Virus, a systematic review. In 2012, these are all the same, folks. 2012, the title is The Use of Masks and Respirators to Prevent Transmission of Influenza, a systematic review of the scientific evidence. And here's a quote from this one. It's a beauty. None of the studies established a conclusive relationship between mask or respirator use and protection against influenza infection, end quote. 2016, another study, effectiveness of N95 respirators, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on for a moment, versus surgical masks in protecting healthcare workers from acute respiratory infection. That's been a lot in the news, folks. A systematic review and meta-analysis. That's the title. Meta-analysis, here's a quote from it, showed that there was insufficient data to determine definitively whether N95 respirators are superior to surgical masks in protecting healthcare workers against transmittable acute respiratory infections in clinical settings. 2017, another study called, this is the title, Effectiveness of Masks and Respirators Against Respiratory Infections in Healthcare Workers, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis. Please keep in mind, folks, I'm not talking about the casual meeting of you and me at a supermarket. These are systematic reviews of healthcare workers working in close proximity for an extended period of time with infected people with viruses. Okay? Here's a quote. The existing evidence is sparse and findings are inconsistent within and across studies. 2019, another titled study, N95 respirators versus medical masks for preventing influenza among healthcare personnel, a randomized clinical trial. The quote in this one is a beauty. Use of N95 respirators compared with medical masks in the outpatient setting resulted in no statistical difference in the rates of laboratory-confirmed influenza. 2020, another study said, this is the title, Effectiveness of N95 Respirators versus Surgical Masks Against Influenza, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis. In 2020, folks, here's another great quote out of this one. The use of N95 respirators compared with surgical masks is not associated with a lower risk of laboratory-confirmed influenza. Keep in mind, folks, every single person who's been listening at all to the mainstream media and all the health experts out there talk about how N95 respirators, those face coverings over the nose and mouth, oh, those are the best. Those are better, a notch up from a surgical mask if you really wanted to protect yourself against this virus, right? Meanwhile, have you been listening to what every one of these studies has said? Over 10 years of research on multiple studies that they've looked at? They all looked at the risk of the infection spread with an N95 mask and with a surgical mask. Every one of these studies I just rattled off to you, not just one off type thing with some hairdressers. There was no statistical difference. In fact, one study in 2020 said that the improper use of face masks can increase your risk of being infected with the virus. Interesting, right? Please keep an open mind. Please listen to what I'm saying. This is just the science. Finally, in 2020, and this is a doozy, from the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, folks, they know this, and yet the messaging is very different. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Are you listening? May of 2020. The title is Non-Pharmacological Measures for Pandemic Influenza in Non-Healthcare Settings, Personal Protective and Environmental Measures. This was published in the Emerging Infectious Disease, a journal that is published by the CDC. I'm not making this up. You can't make up the truth. And the quote out of this study, in our systematic review, not two hairdressers, folks, not one study, a systematic review, we identified 10, not one, 10 randomized controlled trials that reported estimates of the effectiveness of face masks in reducing laboratory-confirmed influenza virus infections in the community from literature published from 1946 to July 27, 2018. In pooled analysis, we found no significant reduction in influenza transmission with the use of a face mask. They go on to say, another quote I pulled out of this, direct quote, disposable medical masks, also known as surgical masks, are loose-fitting devices that are designed to be worn by medical personnel to protect accidental contamination of patient wounds and to protect the wearer against splashes or sprays of bodily fluid. There is limited evidence for their effectiveness in preventing influenza virus transmission, either when worn by the infected person for source control, are you listening? Or when worn by uninfected persons to reduce exposure. Our systematic review found no significant effect of face masks on transmission of laboratory-confirmed influenza, end quote. The bottom line is, folks, as I close out here, and there's a little bit more I need to cover with you, I really pray you're listening to me with an open mind, because there's way too much dogma, there's way too much closed-mindedness, and I will be the first one to be like, rock on. Thank you for showing me the randomized controlled trials that show how effective masks are in preventing the transmission of a virus. This is the number one stated mainstream media reason why we should all wear masks. The vast majority of the people are not sick with this virus. And if they are infected and they feel great, they may not know it. And the message is, wear the mask, because you might give it to somebody else. Transmission. And there's not one so far. There is no good science from randomized controlled trials that I have ever found in all my searching, and I searched to show that masks effectively prevent the spread of a viral infection that is aerosoled in the air. You must understand, We're talking about such small particles of matter. They still get out, folks. But wait, there's more. Most people don't wear N95 masks. You understand. It's expensive. You're not going to buy those left and right, and most people don't. They use a cloth mask. Now, I know what a lot of you might be thinking. Cloth is better than nothing, right? Cover your face. That's what we're told. The answer is no, and it's worse than that. Please listen carefully. I'll say it again. In 2015, a study did a cluster randomized trial of cloth masks compared with medical masks in healthcare workers. That's the study title. The quote out of that is this, quote, "This study is the first randomized controlled trial of cloth masks, and the result caution against the use of cloth masks. This is an important finding to inform occupational health and safety. Moisture retention, reuse of cloth masks, and poor filtration may result in increased risk of infection," end quote. If you doubt this, I'm going to say it again. Please show me the randomized controlled trials in the comment section below. Don't just sit there and text me and say, "Jonathan, that's not good. The science clearly says." And I'm not making fun. I need you to really examine what you're saying and where you're coming from. Show me the randomized controlled trials. Show me the science that shows that wearing a mask stops the transmission of a viral infection from me to you. Please show me the science. That's all I'm asking. There's more problems, of course, which is a whole other show, to face masks. It's unhealthy, no doubt. Wearing a mask for hours daily. I'm not talking about 10 minutes, okay? I get it. You want to say you want to do that? I'm totally for it. Fine. Do whatever you want. Don't make it mandatory. That's another point. But it's unhealthy for hours. The N95 mask is heavily linked to headaches if you wear it for hours a day. It inhibits breathing. It reduces blood oxygenation. It increases your blood CO2. Please understand what all this means. Not good for your health. Plus, if you're infected and you use a mask over your face and nose, you're more likely to breathe back into your body the infection. Not a healthy thing. So still, you believe that masks are good, right? Again, I'm saying it respectfully. There are people out there that will have listened to this whole, 18 minutes that I've been going and say, I don't care. I don't care. The masks are good. Okay, please sit down and have an open mind. Again, I'm asking you, listen to this quote from the New England Journal of Medicine that says the following, quote, "We know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. Public health authorities define a significant exposure to COVID-19 as face-to-face contact within 6 feet with a patient with symptomatic COVID-19, meaning they are sick, they feel sick, that is sustained for at least a few minutes, and some say more than 10 minutes or even 30 minutes. The chance of catching COVID-19 from a passing interaction in a public space is therefore minimal. In many cases, the desire for widespread masking is a reflective reaction to anxiety over the pandemic." End quote. Even Dr. Fauci, our top infectious disease man here in the U.S., supposedly, I always like to say that because it really is a supposed thing, he even calls wearing a face mask a symbol of respect. Our top infectious man in the U.S. should be just about the science. It's even what he claims many times when he utters what he utters to all these people about what we should do. It's the science. The science says, the science suggests, over and over and over again. And yet, I've never heard of one randomized controlled trial that says otherwise. And this is a whole bunch I just went through with you. So why are we being forced to wear a mask? Is it based on the science? Is it? Or is there another agenda? And so my question to you today is very simple. What do you think about wearing a mask? Forget about all the other stuff I even said. If you need more time to look up every one of these, you can replay this live broadcast because it will be recorded and it will be left up unless Facebook wants to take it down. That'll be up to them. It'll be there for you to listen to. You can look up each and every title of every study I talked about. You can look it up yourself. But for now, just give me the answer to what you think. Is wearing a mask, A, important, B, not important, C, you feel it's dangerous, or D, we leave it to other? You can tell us what you think about the mask situation in the United States. If you're in another part of the world, I'd love to hear what is going on in your neck of the woods, what's happening in your country, your province, when it comes to wearing a mask or not. Please sound off in the comment section below. That's it for today. I'd like to remind you that the Natural Health 365 live broadcast is every single day, Monday to Friday, at 12 noon Eastern Time. We do another show just like this, really focused on helping you to have a better understanding how to make your immune system healthier, stronger, and more reactive in the best way possible so that it can protect your health. Thanks a lot for joining us today. I really do appreciate you and all of your involvement in the comment section below. Please sound off so I can get to know you as you're getting to know me. I'm certainly in front of the camera doing the tough stuff here and letting you know what I'm finding out in my research. And I'd like to get to know you better as well. And please, if you feel it's appropriate and you want to, please share this show with someone that you love, a family member, a friend. Tag them in the comment section below. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care, everybody. All right, Instagram, let me know what you think, and share this show if you want to.